So I wanted to ask you how you would grade this administration on their handling of the border, and what you would ask for, if you were elected from the Biden administration and from Congress in order to deal with what's going on the border.
The bottom line is we need immigration reform. Both parties are not working on this at all. When I was working for U.S. Senator Ben Nighthurst Campbell as a Senate aide, John McCain and Ted Kennedy were working on an immigration reform bill. And it was a great bill. And it should have passed in 2004. And then when it tried again, I think 2005, and I think again in 2007. And it didn't pass. And both parties complain, the Republicans don't want to work on an immigration reform bill. Oh, the Democrats don't want to work on an immigration reform bill. We need to have an immigration reform bill because our border patrol is overwhelmed. We don't have enough judges and processors at the border to process the people that are coming over on the border. Now, we can blame Trump and people can blame Biden. That's fine. But we still have a broken system. And we do need to have the workers come over because we have, like I was saying, we have farm areas. We need those workers to come over. But a lot of them want to go back home, but they don't want to get caught. And so we need to have a process system in place to get them. The dreamers, we need to make sure they become citizens of the United States. But we're not working on that. We'd rather complain about it. The Republicans rather complain about it. Paul Gosar wanted to have him arrested, during the presidential speaking engagement, whatever it was at the Capitol. It's insane that we're not working on something that would help the Border Patrol. We are putting them in a situation where they're almost angry, a lot of them, because they get overwhelmed at the border. And then, people get mad at the guy on the horse. Of course, you're going to have a couple of jerks, right? The guy on the horse that was whipping some of the Haitians when they were crossing the river, and he wasn't whipping them, but it was like he was corralling them, And the thing is I don't think they just know what to do, right? They get so overwhelmed. If you see thousands of people on the other side of the river and they're starting to come across, and there's only, say, 20 Border Patrol people, what can they do, right? So we need to give them the resources that they need and the policies. And that's the problem, is we have no strong policies in place for them to take control of the situation. And we are having a lot of people coming over. We have many countries and refugees and asylum seekers trying to come over. But if we had a strong immigration reform bill in place, then we'd have the policies that would have to be followed. And these policies, now that we have, are very weak. And so that's why we need a strong immigration reform policy.
I agree with you that we need to resolve a bunch of existing problems with our immigration system through new legislation. But there is a bunch of existing legislation and statutes and policies that the Biden administration is either dispensed with or is ignoring, and it's created a massive magnet for these waves of migration. A lot of people have, of course, been claiming asylum. A range of them, as this is adjudicated, will or will not receive asylum. And all of them who cross the border and then claim asylum, they are both simultaneously claiming asylum and illegal immigrants if they do it through that border crossing. And the reality is that the Biden administration, for instance, stopped construction of the wall. They didn't have to, but a lot of those pieces are now rotting, and a lot of lost money in that could have continued to serve as a deterrent. They're fighting against Remain in Mexico. At least at the moment, the courts are trying to keep DHS keeping people in Mexico. You've got Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary, who's decided that ICE will no longer consider illegal immigration alone a basis for deportation. There will be no more worksite raids that lead to deportations. All of the signals, I mean, look, you could disagree with each of those things individually. You could say, look, we shouldn't be really in the business of deporting people if their only crime is their illegal entry to the United States. I can understand those positions, but you have to admit they're creating a massive magnet for the types of migration that's coming into the United States right now. Each person that comes across the border, you ask that you put a microphone in front of them, as many reporters have, what's bringing you here that wasn't bringing you before? The answer is one name. It's Joe Biden. And so I understand the point you're making, Delina, that like, hey, we can handle border security. We can handle an amnesty for dreamers. We can do all these things in concert. But there are a bunch of laws on the books right now that are just really being ignored because of the policy preferences of the current administration.